الله أكبر الله أكبر
السلام عليكم شيخ.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله يا أحباب.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته شيخنا، كيف الحال؟ وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته شيخ. Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Oh, yes.
السلام
Loud
ورحمة
and
الله
clear now.
وبركاته.
Now you can hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Alhamdulillah. I don't
Okay.
know. I responded before. I guess you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, it's just about now. I decided just to teach from the masjid today to save us some time, but let's see. I quickly want to jump into this and then have some time for Q&A and then ask you how the journey was for Hajj and
Inshallah.
to get insight into and how the things went down.
Inshallah.
So we went over the components of Salah before, right? And then we kind of did like a class activity about it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or before Eid or something like that. So let's just quickly go over the components in a nutshell, right? So for those who weren't here, I did share the link with the class on the WhatsApp group to download the book, which has adillas for Ahnaf for each component of Salat that they say it's obligatory. So if you didn't get the link, just ask me and I'll send you the link to download the book. If someone else has it, just please share it in the group if you still have that link. Okay. So conditions for Salat to be incumbent, meaning the Salat, in order for Salat, yeah, Allah, that was loud. Such a Sari, typical Sari ride. Okay. So when does Salat become fard? So Salah becomes fard, right, on a person who's a Muslim, who's mature, and he's sane. So Muslim is like a primary condition. Muslim has to be mature, and he has to be sane. So if all these three qualities are met, that means Salah is fard on that person. And then with regards to children should be commended to perform Salah at the age of 7, and and punishment for neglecting it when they are 10. This is based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So punishment doesn't have to be physical. A lot of people take this to be like a physical type of punishment, like reprimand him, right, and make him understand the importance of salah. Okay, more of a reminder. Okay, and prerequisites. Well, we kind of covered some of them, but let's go over them in details. Purification, tahara, the first and foremost thing. Right? That when we talk about tahara, we're talking about tahara of three things: body, right, clothes, and then the place. So body has to be clean, clothes have to be clean, and the place where you're praying has to be clean. What does it mean by body has to be clean? Meaning it should not have any major or minor impurities, right? And his body should be pure from any physical impurities, which are not excused. Clothes, same thing as body, cannot have any of that type of impurity on it. Location, place where he's praying must be purified from physical impurities, which are not excused. Purification of the location includes purification of the following, right? The place, this is important. 4 things: feet, hands, knees, and forehead. So all this area has to be pure, right? Wherever you're not touching, if you look at it, wherever you're not touching, that area does not have to be pure. The ground of that area does not have to be pure. But wherever these things will touch, that's the area that has to be pure, technically speaking, okay? Covering awra, this is really, really important. I never thought it'd be important, but apparently it is really important, especially for all the brothers who wear Western clothes, t-shirts, pants, stuff like that. And then awra gets uncovered, especially when going ruku or sitting at tahiyat or sitting down, because the shirts are short, right? They're not long. So the area which is your satar, it gets exposed and then it gets uncovered. So that invalidates the salah. So it's a really, really important time, important aspect of it, right? And then the ruling is if the quarter of the limb is uncovered prior to starting salah, it will not be considered started. The salah doesn't start. If a quarter of the limb becomes uncovered during salah for the period of rukun, the salah will become invalid. So the time frame for that is, right? Rukun, sujood, one sajda is one rukun, and ruku is one rukun. So the time that it takes for the person to perform that rukun, that is like a way of measuring for like, if the satar is exposed for this long, then, salah breaks. Fahimtum, right? So I kind of, in my masjid, started announcing, right? Make sure your awra is covered because salah breaks. What's the awra of a man? Or from navel, right, to the lower limits of the knees. This is according to Ahnaf. The difference of opinion with regards to whether knees are included or not. But at the precautionary side, the stance that Ahnaf have is that knees are included. They're part of awra, right? As opposed to the navel, which is so just beneath the navel, immediately beneath the navel, like 2-3 fingers, that's when the awra part starts. Go to Ahnaf. Awra for women. Sure, go ahead.
I may ask, because this was especially relevant when I was wearing ihram. Shoulders, if somebody, their shoulder or their stomach, obviously above the awra, is showing during salah, what's the Hanafi position on that?
So ihram is a totally different ballgame. Okay.
Okay.
So even then, the awra should not be exposed. Shoulders and then stomach, all of that is not part of awra. So underneath the navel, up until including the knees, this is awra.
Yeah. So assuming that's covered, if let's say, for example, somebody's praying without the top part of the ihram, but their navel to the knee is covered.
Yeah. So technically speaking, so we're not going to talk about like whether that's preferable, not preferable, like all that kind of, we're technically speaking that they're basically meeting the minimum requirements.
So their salah is valid being there.
Oh, absolutely, because fard is not broken.
So their salah is still valid, even if their shoulders are showing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ihram, like, is not even makruh because you're, depending on which round of the ihram tawaf you're in, right? You have to expose. It's a sunnah to expose the shoulder, right?
Yeah. But outside of ihram, if somebody's praying with their shoulders covered,
it's against haya.
It's against haya, but the prayer is still valid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even if their stomach is showing.
Yeah.
As long as the awra is not showing.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But okay, Jazakallah khair.
And then obviously facing the qibla. Salah will not be valid if a person does not face the qibla, right? And then the actual qibla and the direction of qibla are two different things. I want you guys to understand this point very well. Okay, a lot of people have fights over this in the masjid. A lot of people have like disagreement with people, but I want you to limit this knowledge to yourself, and then don't cause any disruption in the community. I just want you to know as students of knowledge, okay? And where if you feel all right, people will understand what I'm saying, then you should say it. But if you know that people are not going to understand what you're saying, and then no point of wasting your energy there, right? So like coming from academic background, all of you guys, it's easy for you to understand the actual absolute qibla, I should say, not the actual qibla. Absolute qibla and the direction of qibla are two different things. Okay, so an absolute direction of qibla for the one who's present in Makkah and is capable of looking at it. Okay, so we have to have an absolute direction of the qibla. For general direction of the qibla, it is for those that are not able to look directly at the Kaaba. It is also the Qibla for those who are at a distance from Makkah Mukarram. So we don't have to have like a precise, like an absolute location, the corner of the Kaaba for prayer. It's a general direction. If the Kaaba is that way, general direction we pray, it is accepted. Okay. And then obviously there is some exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rules. Someone who's sick or fear of enemy, and then someone has some sort of condition or something like that. They're bedridden or they're in the hospital bed and they're in the twilight moments of their life. So those circumstances are different. The rule could be broken there. This fard will be waived there. Okay.
Sorry, Sheikh, if I could ask a quick question about this, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So on our way back, we had to basically pray Salah, but Qatar Airways didn't allow us to stand up. They said you must sit down. And I tried my best to get as close to the Qibla as I could while still being able to do sajda and rukun. So what's the ruling on, number one, praying, I guess, sitting down on a plane, and two, like, well, obviously in this case, I couldn't have faced the Qibla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So normally, there's a couple of ways to go about it. I'll give you opinion of all the scholars, right? So we'll start with Mufti Asim here. Mufti Asim is of the opinion that you should offer your salah sitting in the seat, whichever direction possible, and then make qada for it, just to be on the safe side. Okay. Some of the shuyukh are of the opinion that before embarking on the plane, before, if you can do Jama Baina Salatain, you should. Or after, your flight lands, if you can do Jama Baina Salatain, you should. Okay. So that kind of saves you from making the qada of it. But this is generally, that's how you go about it. But again,
yeah,
I think the Qibla is not in your control at that point, right?
Yeah.
So,
For
even
us,
Qatar Airline, Saudi Airline, it doesn't matter which
Yeah.
airline in the world right now. They just, I think like one or two airplanes, not even airlines. There's one or two airplanes that kind of accommodate. Apart from that, nobody in the world does it.
Yeah. So in this situation, I couldn't have actually done Jama Taqsir. I would have done that, but because our plane was at, it was like 7 a.m, and then it was a 14-hour flight. So
Yeah.
so in this case, I sat down. What I did is I did what Mufti did. I sat down and I prayed, and I just made up the qada to be on the safe side afterwards.
Yeah. That's the best way to go about it.
Okay.
And we should not have any feelings in our heart, because traveling is part of our life.
Yeah.
We should just make istighfar that the condition is such that we're not able to offer our salah properly.
Yeah.
But apart from that, inshallah, there'll be no sin on you.
Jazakallah khair.
So timing of salah has to be correct, right? Fixed time. Inna salata kanat ala mu'minina kitaban mawquta, right? Muaqqat, like it's stipulated by Sharia. So that time has to be correct. We already discussed all of this. And then niyyah, intention. Without the correct intention, salah will not be valid, right? The only difference of opinion is, according to some a'imma, some mazahib, you have to actually articulate your intention. According to some a'imma, even if you have the intention in your heart and your mind knows about it, that suffices. But nonetheless, all of them unanimously say that niyyah is fard. Intention is fard for salah. And it will be necessary to specify which salah. For example, Dhuhr salah, Asr salah, Maghrib salah. When the salah is wajib, Witr salah, Eid salah, etc. It's not necessary to specify any intention for nafil salah. Intending salah generally will suffice. I'm just praying 2 rakat, boom, you offer it, okay? So for fard salah and wajib salah, you have to specify which salah you're praying. And if he's praying behind the imam, according to Ahnaf, he must intend the following the imam. Like, I intend to pray, Salatul Asr behind the imam. Kaboom, right? And he starts the salah. If one is often negligent of his intention, he may pronounce it verbally. If he feels that, I'll forget my intention, then this person should kind of say it out loud to the extent that his own ears can hear. So this is basically how we do it outside of Salah. Okay, requisites outside of Salah. Now let's start inside of Salah. Takbiratul Tahrima, to begin the Salah with the invocation solely for Allah, and that is restricted to Allahu Akbar wa Allahu A'azam. Okay, you can use these words, but Allahu Akbar is the most preferable according to the hadith. No action that negates Salah, like eating or drinking, may be performed between the Takbiratul Tahrima and the Salah. Like you can't do that, right? I don't know how that's even possible, but unless you have superpowers or something. But between Takbiratul Tahrima, you can't do that. Okay. The following are conditions to Tahrima. It must be performed standing before bowing down for ruku'. The intention must not be delayed past the takbir of opening. Okay. Allahu Akbar should be uttered in such a manner that one may hear himself. Right. So Takbiratul Tahrima is fard, and these are conditions of Takbiratul Tahrima. Okay. Some miscellaneous rules with regards to prerequisites. The person who's unable to find a substance to remove impurity, he will pray with impurity and will not have to repeat the prayer. The person who cannot find a cloth to cover his awrah, neither can he find grass or soil for that purpose, will pray naked and will not have to repeat the prayer. As long as a quarter of his clothes are pure, it will not be permissible to pray naked. It is preferable for the one having only impure clothes to pray with those clothes than to pray naked. Okay, so this is pretty important. All right, sometimes your clothes just become impure while you're traveling on the plane, for example, and then you have no other clothes, right? So what do? You just pray with those impure clothes, right? Because you have no option. But you should not pray without clothes, or should not let go of your salah just because your clothes are impure and you don't have no access to your clothes.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Yes.
Let me ask a quick question.
Sure.
So it says rulings related to purity of clothes, but point number one or any other related to impurity, do they apply to the body as well?
So give me an example.
Or just the clothes, like if there's impurity on your physical self, and you weren't able to properly clean it, does the same ruling apply? Like your clothes are pure, clean, but perhaps there was some najasa on your physical self.
Yeah. I can think of an example, but I don't think it's an appropriate example to share for class. But I get what you're saying. Yes, it'll be same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jazakallah.
Okay. And well, I think I should just say it, but I want to mince my words when I'm saying. So, for example, if somebody was to defecate, right, and then now they have nothing to clean themselves with, right? In that case, the boxers, for example, for men will become impure, and the body is still impure because it's not able to clean itself. So those are like, under those circumstances, you have to make use of the best that you have, right?
Jazakallah. That's perfect. Thank you for that.
So, all right. So now let's say you're in a situation where you have no clothes and you're naked. The person will sit with his legs extended towards the Qibla and ruku' or sujood by gestures, right? So he will try to keep himself composed and his body composed as much as possible. So he will not perform ruku' and sujood like a traditional ruku' and sujood. Rather, he'll just make a gesture. Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Rahmakallah, Sheikh.
So
sorry, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a quick question regarding this. In general, let's say somebody after Salah, they're tired. Is it okay to extend your feet towards the Qibla?
Oh yeah, that's a big
feet are facing the Qibla. Is that okay?
Big debate on this. So for those who practice adab, right, who have a lot of, they're very keen on adab, and ad-deen kulluhu adab, right, in light of this hadith. they say that it's against adab, like respect of the Kaaba to face your feet towards it. And to back that up, they deduce this concept of not, uh, you know, do anything, any action in the direction of the Kaaba, which undermines the significance of the Kaaba, right? So, for example, even when the person is relieving themselves, so according to Ahnaf, even within a closed wall, you're not allowed to, relieve yourself in the direction of the Kaaba. Like your washroom cannot face in that direction. So, so based in light of that, right? So the ulama say the feet, it's facing towards anyone's face, or facing it towards the Quran is disrespect, right? Culturally and you know uh, 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 based on moral ethics, right? So in light of that, they say it's khilaf adab. Others say, however, they say that you know the intention of the heart is not disrespect, so hence they say that it's okay, right? But ulama, mashayikh, shuyukh, they try not to do this. They actually don't do this. Does it make sense?
Yes, yes. Jazakallah khair.
So people make it like a whole big like a thing out of it. So like I think it's up to like personally like personal opinion, right? Not necessarily Al-Ihsan's opinion. It's just that we should educate people, like have reverence and respect, because even Hindus and Jews and not Jews, but Hindus and Buddhists and all of these guys, they don't face their feet towards the idols out of respect, right? So why should we do it for Kaaba? But we shouldn't like absolutely humiliate the person if someone's doing it, Especially when Makkah, Medina, you find people from all walks of life doing all sort of stuff. Nonetheless. Okay, related to the location, it's permissible to pray on the clean portion of an impure cloth under the conditions that the cloth is such a size that by removing one of its sides, the opposite side will not move. What that means is that the cloth is large enough, right? So if you pick up the one side of it, the other corner won't move, right? So basically, even sajada size type of size of cloth, it's good enough. Right? That is, it's permissible to pray on top of the side of a carpet whose bottom is impure. That's fine as well, right? It's the top that matters. The one who is unsure of the direction of the Qibla and cannot find someone to show it to him, nor can he find something to direct him towards it, will pray after making an educated guess, right? So that's person's fatwa to himself. Basically, he firmly believes that Qibla is in this direction. Okay, khalas, I'm going to pray in this direction. But if after praying it becomes evident that his guess was wrong, his salah will be valid and he doesn't have to repeat it. But if he comes to know of the correct direction during salah, then he'll have to turn towards the Qibla and will not break his salah. Prophet ﷺ did this when the command of the Kaaba, change of Qibla, Ta'wil al-Qibla came. Prophet ﷺ facing the direction of Bayt al-Maqdis, then in salah, he faced in the direction of Kaaba. So that's where they take it from, that you're allowed to turn once you come to know the direction of the Kaaba. Rules, some of the stuff about awra. If different parts of awra are uncovered and the total amount of the exposed skin equals to more than 1/4 of the smallest exposed limb, salah will be invalid. And if the total amount is less than that, the salah will be valid. Okay, so another way of looking at it. Inside, after the requisites. The 5 faraid of salah: qiyam, qira, ruku, sujud, and at-tahiyya, tashahhud. So qiyam is fard in all fard and wajib salah. Qiyam is not fard in nafil salah. Keep this in mind. It's fard in all fard and wajib salah, according to Ahnaf. It is permissible to pray nafil salah while sitting down, even though one may be able to stand. Fahimtum ya ahbab? The reward is half though, but you're allowed to do this. Now don't start sitting down, okay, people? Like we learned as an icon, I can sit down, but the reward is also half. All right. Qira'at, even if it be a short ayah, for verily salah is not valid without recitation. Okay. Recitation is fard in the first two rak'at of all the fard salah. It is fard in all rak'at, wajib and nawafil. Okay. And recitation is not fard if one is praying behind an imam. Rather, it is according to Ahnaf, it is makruh. According to Imam Shafi, they recite Surah Fatiha behind the imam. Ruku'. Salah is not valid without ruku'. The fard of ruku' is completed by bowing the head to such an extent that his position resembles the position of ruku' more than it does to qiyam. So basically, it should be in a way that if someone looking from outside could kind of tell that this person is bowing down, right? A perfect ruku' will not be completed until the head is in line with the posterior. We talked about this in our exercise. Sujud, prostration. Salah is not valid without two sajdas in every rak'at. The fard of sujud is not completed by placing part of the forehead. It's completed, sorry. By placing the part of the forehead, one arm, one foot, and one knee on the ground. The perfect sujood is completed by placing both hands, both feet, both knees, forehand, and nose on the ground. And sujood is not valid unless it is performed on such a surface that if we were to force his head down, it would not go lower than where he initially placed it. So we're talking about a mattress, for example, right? So if someone pushes the head down, it'll go very deep into the mattress, like if it's a 3-inch, 2-inch mattress, right? So that's on tough materials like that, they're saying we should not pray. Will not be permissible to only place the nose on the ground unless there is a valid reason, right? Like a medical reason or something like that. Forehead is also an essential part. But whoever makes sajda on his sleeves or part of his cloth, it will be permissible without reprehension. Like it's not makruh to do so. In order for the sajda to be valid, the place of prostration should not be more than half an arm length higher than the surface on which the feet are. Right? So it should not be higher than this, half an arm. If the place of sajda is more than half an arm's length higher, the salah will not be valid unless it is due to a large crowd. Right? That's something else. So inclined place, you just have to be sure, like a deck that you're performing sajda on. So a large crowd, you have nowhere place to stay. Those are different stories. And then tashahhud, the last sitting. So according to some scholars, it is fard to end the salah by deliberate action. However, according to most researchers, it is not fard, rather a wajib. Okay, so saying salam. So according to Ahnaf, it's wajib. According to Imam Shafi, it's fard. Okay, so some of wajibat, another category according to Ahnaf, right? To begin the salah by the words Allahu Akbar, that's wajib. Okay, you can just say Allahu A'zam, Allahu Kabir, Allahu Ghafur. You can say all of that, but it's wajib according to Ahnaf to say Allahu Akbar. And it's not Allahu Akbar and now Allahu Akbar, right? It's Allahu Akbar. Okay, gotta correct that in the Tajweed. To recite Surah Fatiha in Nafal, Sunnah, and Wajib Salah, Surah Fatiha should be read in each rak'at. Fahimtum? During the first Salah, to recite Surah Fatiha in first two rak'at is wajib, and in the second rak'at, third and fourth is sunnah. This is according to Ahnaf. According to Imam Shafi, Fatiha is fard in all rak'at. To follow recitation of Fatiha in all of the above mentioned rak'at with either a surah, a long ayah, or 3 short ayat. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is fard. To recite Surah Fatiha before any other surah or ayah. Right? It can't be that you recite ayah then Surah Fatiha. It has to be Surah Fatiha first, and that is fard according to Ahnaf. For the Imam to recite aloud in Fajr, the first rak'at of Maghrib, first rak'at, two rak'ats of Maghrib, Isha, Juma, Eid, and Taraweeh, all the rak'at of Witr during Ramadan. Okay, during Ramadan only, not outside of Ramadan. The one performing Salah on his own may recite aloud or quietly. However, it is more virtuous to recite aloud in those salawat and in Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, not Fajr, Dhuhr, Fajr, Maghrib, Isha. Okay, because these are normally done out loud anyway. For the Imam and the one praying individually to recite quietly in Dhuhr, Asr, the last rak'ah of Maghrib, the two rak'ahs of Isha, and Nawafil salawat performed during the day. During the day, not necessarily at night time. The Hajj you can recite out loud. To perform Jalsa, to sit between the two sajdas. Jalsa refers to the sitting position between the two sajdas. The Musalli should pause for a while in the sitting posture. If there is no definite pause between the two sajdas, it will entail leaving out a wajib. So Jalsa is wajib according to Ahnaf. If you missed it, you have to perform sajdat al-sahu. We'll talk about sajdat al-sahu up ahead. And to perform the second sajda immediately after the first without any separation between the two. Right? And to perform Qa'adatul Ula, to sit for the tashahhud at the end of every two rak'at in salawat consisting of 3 or 4 rak'ats. If one makes a mistake in not performing Qa'adatul Ula, he should perform Sajdatul Sahu. If any of the above wajibat are left out intentionally or unintentionally, then two Sajdatul Sahu becomes wajib to recite, and if you leave it intentionally, your salah breaks. That's why unintentionally is the important part. If it left it out by mistake, you're good to go after performing the Sajdatul Sahu. To recite the Shahud in the first and second Qa'dah. Okay. To stand up immediately after reciting the Shahud in the Qa'datul Ula. To finish Salah by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah twice. To recite Du'a'ul Qunut in the third rak'at of Witr after recitation of Fatiha in another surah, according to Ahnaf. To perform 3 rak'at of Takbirat in both the Eid Salah before going to Ruku and in the second rak'at. To perform every action in like a smooth and a calm way. To stand upright in Qiyam, Ruku to be performed correctly, and then standing after Ruku, and each posture should be done, without like it's not like a rapid fire round, right? Not rapidly, slowly. Okay.
Sorry, Sheikh. Qunut, according to the other schools of thought, is it also wajib or is it a sunnah for Dua al-Qunut?
Oh, so different people, different madhahib have different things. According to Imam Shafi rahimahullah ta'ala, it's fard in Fajr only.
It's fard in Fajr only.
Yeah, it's according to some Imam, it's every like under like special circumstances and like a calamity befalls or something like that. So that's when they make it's wajib. Yeah, according to Ahnaf, it's like an ongoing wajib after Salatul Isha. Imam Shafi have the opinion Fajr time in Salah.
Okay, but for the Shafis, they say it's wajib in the first rak'ah of the Fajr Salah.
Second rak'at.
Second rak'ah of Fajr Salah.
Yeah.
Okay, and for them, wajib is the same as fard.
Yeah, but then contemporary ulama have they don't see it as a wajib.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, but then everybody, even Ahnaf, all of them, they say that they call it Dua Qunutul Nazila, meaning at the time of like difficulty and like when Muslims are suffering, and especially when the countries are getting all of the A'imma, they do Dua Qunut Nazila and Fatrat al-Fajr, basically, and then recite the whole dua, second rakat, before going to ruku. So I think Sheikh Sudais, all of these guys, according to Imam Malik, they do 2 rakat and then 1 rakat on its own in Isha in Tarawih.
Yeah, that's the way I was taught it. So you do two
Yeah.
rak'ah sunnah and then one rak'ah witr. But I know this is a matter of like ikhtilaf. Yeah.
Yeah. So Malikiya do that. Malikiya say that the witr, it's a separate rakat on its own. Ahnaf say the 3 rakat are, they have to be read together without any break in between. So it's just that Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala says that it's 2 plus 1. Ahnaf just says 3 altogether. I mean, end of the day, they're still praying 3, but just the way they offer it is different.
But I believe the Hanafis do it after they pray 2 rak'ah sunnah, after Isha, right?
After 4 rakat, if Isha, yeah.
After 4 rak'ah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like 2 rakat the sunnah, they pray, right? That's
Yeah.
nafil, right? That's nafil. But it's technically 4 rakat the fard and 3 rakat the witr.
Yeah. What if somebody skips the sunnah and just prays the witr? Is that okay?
Yeah, but if the person, I'm not sure if it's in this course that we did talk about that. If the person makes a habit of skipping the sunnah, then the person will be considered sinful. But if someone just does it, once in a blue moon, right? Maybe they're not feeling good, they're tired, they're fatigued, or they have to go somewhere, then that person is not sinful.
Okay.
But make a habit, yeah. So according to Ahnaf, it's a big thing. The person becomes a habitual, person that, who always leaves out sunnah, then that person is sinful.
Yeah, Sheikh Taha mentioned this, and he said at the beginning, if somebody leaves it thinking it's not very important,
yeah,
it's not important, then they leave it. Yeah, but I think there's another opinion that says basically even if you left the 12 sunnah rakats, then you're not sinful for that. Correct? I think that's opinion of by some.
Imam Shafi, rahimahullah ta'ala.
Yeah. Okay. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
So here is the whole section of Sunnah of Salah. Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. Standing straight while performing tahrima, takbir al-tahrima, without bending one's head. Right? I always correct this for people. Raising one's hands before takbir al-tahrima to the level of ears. Women will raise their hands to the level of their shoulders. We talked about the difference between the salah of the men and the women in the booklet that I discussed. I think Brother Umar, you should watch that video. It should help you.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Keeping the palms and the fingers facing Qibla while raising one's hands. Keeping the fingers normal while raising one's hands, not clenching them together nor spreading them apart too much. Placing the right hand on the left hand below the navel, and according to Imam Shafi on the chest, and Imam Malik on the heart, and then Imam Malik's another opinion is that you don't tie the hands all together. And the women will place their hands on the chest. Okay. Placing the right palm on the back of the left hand, trying a circle with the right pinky and the thumb around the left wrist. Women will not tie the pinky and the thumbs, they just keep it flat. Reciting Thana immediately after placing the hands below the navel. Thana is Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika tabaraka ismuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayruk. And then according to Imam Shafi, it's a different dua that we talked about in one of our lectures already. And then performing the awwad before reciting Surah Fatiha in the first rakah. Okay. And then saying Ameen quietly after completing recitation of Fatiha. Look at this. A lot of Ahnaf, these guys forget. Okay, we still have to say Ameen. The discussion revolves around whether it's saying it out loud or quietly. So we still have to say Ameen. Right? So softly. So the discussion is not whether we have to say it or not. To leave a space of approximately 4 fingers between the feet during Qiyam. Okay. Reciting the following surah after reciting Fatiha. For Dhuhr, Fajr, surah from Tiwal Mufassal, meaning Tiwal Mufassal al-Hujurat to Inshiqaq, Nasr and Isha, and then Mufassal, Aswat, Awsat al-Mufassal, and Buruj and Qadr, and Maghrib, and then Qisar al-Mufassal, and Al-Bayyina to Nas. Okay. And make the first rak'ah longer than the second, especially in Fajr, like by a couple of ayats, not by like a 5-10 minute difference. Okay. Perform takbir while going into ruku, while doing the transition, not before or after. Grasping the knees with the hands during ruku while spreading the fingers. Women will only place their hands on their knees without grasping them. Extending the spine, keeping the head at the same level as the posterior, and keeping the shins upright during ruku. Women will only bow as low as it is required for them to place their hands on the knees. That's it. Reciting Subhana Rabbil Azim 3 times in ruku'. Keeping the arms away from the body during ruku'. Women will keep the elbows pressed to their sides. While raising his head from ruku', the Imam will say, Sami Allahu liman hamida. Muqtadi, the followers say, Rabbana wa lakal hamd quietly, or Rabbana wa lakal hamd, hamdan kasiran tayyiban, barakan fih, barakan alayh, or that dua. The munfarid person who's not following any Imam, person who's praying alone, will say the both. Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, Rabbana lakal hamd. Okay. And takbir to go into sajda, placing on the ground while going into sajda, knees, then hands, then face. While getting out of sajda, to raise the face, then hands, then the knees. And placing the face between the hands during sajda. The distance. Stomach from the thighs, women will make them touch. Elbows from the sides, women will make them touch. The forearms from the ground, women will place them on the ground. Right? Keeping the fingers pressed together during sajda. Keeping the feet upright with toes facing the qibla during sajda. Reciting, Subhana Rabbil A'la 3 times in sajda. Takbir while sitting up from sajda. Okay, raising up from sajda without sitting or supporting oneself on the ground unless there is a valid excuse. According to Imam Shafi, you have to. Right? Put your hands on the floor and then get up. Placing the hands on thighs between the 2 sajdas as one places them during tashahhud. Flattening the left foot and keeping the right foot upright. We talked about this. Gesturing with the right index in tashahhud. Talked about this. Reciting Surah Fatiha in the first 2 rakat of Dhuhr, Asr, Isha, and the last 2 rakat of Maghrib. Not Maghrib, last rakat of Maghrib. Reciting Durood in the last sitting. Supplicating for oneself after Durood with the dua from the Sunnah. Amongst these du'as are Allahumma inni dhamtu nafsi dhulman kathira wa la yaghfiru dhunuba illa anta faghfir li maghfiratan min indika warhamni innaka antal ghafurur rahim. This is the most strongest dua after Durood in At-Tahiyyat. Turning right and left, saying Assalamu alaikum. Pronouncing the takbir of intiqal, change of position, loudly for the Imam, quietly for the muqtadi. Pronouncing Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, loudly for the Imam, quietly for the muqtadi, right? And intending while making salam. For the Imam, the men, the hafala, the angels who note a person down the person's deeds, and the pious jinns. Okay. And for the muqtadi, the Imam and the people on the side of the Imam, and for the munfarid, only the angels. Okay, to both sides for the people who are praying behind the Imam. And they should also include the Imam as well, depending on which side he falls in, either left or right. If you're praying directly behind him, you just include it on one of the sides, left or right. Lowering one's voice in the second salam compared to the first one. Starting the salam from the right side, and for the salam of the muqtadi to be synchronized with the salam of the Imam, not delayed. Okay, keep this in mind. It's along with the Imam. For the masbook is a person who joins Imam after missing rakat. To wait for the Imam to perform both salams before standing up to complete his salam. You should not stand up until the Imam has not completed both of the salams. Mustahabat. Okay, mustahabat are like preferable acts. Okay. Position of the hands during tahrima. Take the hands out of the cloak or the sleeves during tahrim. To keep the hands, this is for men only. To keep the hands within the sleeves for women. Keeping the gaze in the place of sajda during qiyam, on the feet during ruku, on the nose during sajda, on the lap during qu'ud, and on the shoulder during salah. With respect to yawning and coughing, hold back the cough or yawn to one's capacity, suppressing the yawn and keep it silent if one is not able to hold it back. And to recite the shahud as follows: At-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. And then dua al-qunut. اللهم إنا نستعينك ونستغفرك ونؤمن بك ونتوكل عليك ونثني عليك الخير ونشكرك ولا نغفرك ونحلم ونترك من يفجرك اللهم إياك نعبد ولك نصلي ونسجد وإليك نسعى ونخفض ونرجو رحمتك ونخشى عذابك إن عذابك بالكفار ملحق. According to Imam Shafi, اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت. The whole dua itself. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yes, Sheikh. I have a very important question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Unless somebody else has a question. I know I've been asking a lot.
That's fine.
So when I was in Hajj, I met some brothers from the UK. At least one of them told me that in some masjids, because Isha is quite late, and obviously I'm speaking from experience, it can be difficult to stay up for Isha, and especially when Fajr is early and a person's working the next day. Mm-hmm. So there's been a fatwa there in some of the mosques, at least one, I think, where they've allowed for basically Jama' bayn al-Maghrib wal Isha. So they put together Maghrib and Isha. What's your take on that, considering we also live in a place where Isha during, the summer, it can be quite late and Fajr is early. So what's your take on combining Maghrib and Isha, basically praying Isha and Maghrib time to make things easier, I guess, if that makes sense.
So there's a lot of a discussion around this. So majority of the ulama are of the opinion that we do not combine them. It's a majority, 99.9%.
Yeah.
Also 0.1% of the ulama are because I'm talking about European and Western countries.
Yeah.
So for them, they say that they have debated around the debate started around with we should only keep an hour difference between the two, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of 0.1% practice that though. They only keep an hour and they practice that. And out of that 0.1%, fraction of the people practice, because I studied in UK, right? So for 3 years, so I know. So a fraction of the people practice. Actually, in Leeds, if I was to give an example, Leeds is that's where I normally stay if I go inland. Entire Leeds, there's only one masjid that does it, right? So they pray Maghrib Isha together, but they only do it for a month.
Yeah.
Not for all of the months. So it's a very, very shadh opinion. It's a very, very unusual circumstance, right? Circumstantial verdict, I should say.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for people? Because honestly, it was very nice when I was in Mecca and Medina. They would pray Isha, you'd be done by 9 o'clock. And so you could still sleep and wake up early before Fajr. What's your recommendation for people who genuinely struggle?
So for I know some people go sleep early. Some people have it's very hard for them. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But majority of the people, right? The reason why they can't get the argument it doesn't stand its ground because majority of the people research were done. They don't go sleep even if they pray early.
Yeah.
So they'll still take an hour or two before hitting the bed, and by the time they sleep, right? It's just that for some people, it's like a duty that they want to fulfill, and then just be relaxed.
Yeah.
So and they look at it from that mindset. But a lot of mashayikh, for example, I should say the people that is the hardest for are the imams, right? Because they have to lead both of the salah, for example. I've done that.
Yeah.
So and then then you learn to Because no one's works, starts earlier than the imam, like for majority of the people, meaning he has to be there like 10-15 minutes before, like 4 o'clock, 3:30, 3:35, 4 o'clock, to be in the masjid, after finishing salah around 12 o'clock. So it's manageable, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
So
So pretty much,
it'll be like a long time before the ulama can come to this conclusion.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I heard that they're gonna consider changing the time next year. Well, I
Yeah,
don't know if that would be work in our benefit, correct? That would make things easier.
yeah. So that should work in our benefit, actually.
Because then Aisha would be like 10:20 at the latest, as opposed to 11:20, correct? If they got rid of daylight savings, essentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that will impact. I'm not sure which timing they're going to stick to.
Yeah.
So that's still in the talks, right? It makes it life easier because we do everything hour early then.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Like we don't have that bad. Like if you go up north, our territories, they have it bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, those guys in like they pray Fajr, Isha, and then it's almost Fajr time again. They're like, oh man, like it's like suhoor in Ramadan. It's like you just finish your Taraweeh, right? And you only have like an hour. Remember, like 2 years ago, we only had like hour and a half, 2 hours before suhoor ended.
Yes.
So it's a time, right? That's the struggle. That's the struggle. That's what the reward is for. I think we should stick because of the ayat of the Quran. It's really hard to challenge that.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things when I think about leaving Canada and living in a Muslim country. honestly, that's one of the benefits.
Oh yeah, man. These, like my friends down in Barbados and those.
Yeah.
Like the only in summer or winter, they're like it's only an hour of impact of those that takes place.
Yeah.
Us, the Vancouver is drastic. Like it's crazy.
5 hours. 5 hours Maghrib difference in Maghrib.
Yeah, and then winter, like no one complains then.
Yeah.
Winter 4 o'clock, like your Maghrib is kicking in.
Yeah.
And then fast in the winter, like oh my god, like you can keep 2 fasts in a day.
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
So we have like I guess pros and cons of living here. Pros is like winter, like anyone can fast. Fasting becomes so easy for everyone.
Yeah.
So practical for everyone. In winter it becomes so hard. I mean, summer becomes so hard.
Yeah. Jazakallah.
Both sides to the coin, right? It's not just
of course.
If it was like an all year long issue, then ulama would be having serious discussions because it's like a month and a half issue, right? Right now the time has started decreasing.
Yeah.
Like Maghrib today is like 9:10 right now or something like that.
Yeah.
From 9:30 to like it's dropping now. Within this month, by like end of August or something like that, time will be, it's gonna drop. It's gonna come down to 10 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's only 1 month, 1.5 months that actually we struggle with.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Okay. So I think I want to end our lecture here and then start preparing for Maghrib and then take it from there, inshallah. So any other questions? I want to stop the share and then open the channel for the questions.
Oh, yes. There was one other one. Sorry. Regarding when somebody wears an amama or a topi and it covers part of the forehead, what's the ruling on that?
So forehead should be clear.
And that's like up to the hairline?
Yeah, I mean the hairline or like enough of space that your forehead, the skin is touching the ground.
Okay.
Like it could be all the way here, right? As long as this portion is touching the ground properly.
Okay, so it could be covering your hairline and you could still
right. It depends. Like someone has a receding hairline, then it's a different story.
Yeah.
So it depends. So it's not hairline is not actually like as long as this portion of it is touching the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. So forehead is more important than the nose, according to Ahnaf.
Yeah. Okay. Jazakallah khair.
So Sheikh, basically just even a portion of it, so above your brows, part of your forehead, if your topi, for example, is down? Like, so when you say portion, you mean like, in fact, a portion of it,
Yeah,
not
3 fingers.
3 fingers? Oh, okay. About that. Okay. Perfect.
Right, 3 fingers it should be.
Okay. I do have a question regarding, earlier you mentioned you shared a link in the WhatsApp to download the, I'm not sure if it was a guide or a booklet, what it was.
I
but
think
regarding the adilla, I didn't see.
it was in the chat here in
Oh, in the chat here. Oh, sorry. I
so I'm not
misunderstood.
sure. But I think I'm not sure. Just email me and I'll send it to you. If someone else has it, they can send it on the WhatsApp group or something. I do remember that I wanted to make it available for everyone.
Yeah, now that you said it, I think there was a link that you shared in the chat a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you should be able to find it, inshallah. So I'm going to pause the recording while the questions are taking place. For those who want to leave, they can leave.